You know, I am amazed at how quickly this episode went by, considering that not a great deal happened in this episode. Maybe I was just so engrossed by the visuals to the point where I didn't truly notice the time passing by. Well anyway, the results of the Twitter poll that I put out last week has shown that 100% of voters do not like handshakers, which has made me wonder about why I myself am so okay with this anime. I mean, I'm not saying I really like handshakers, especially since episode 3 in particular had some really dodgy writing and direction, but so far I am finding this anime quite watchable. But then again, I am a sucker for technically strong media, and sometimes technical strength is actually enough to win me over, unlike some movies, Arrival, which were technically competent and yet utterly crap in my opinion, but I'll save those thoughts for another video. So in episode 3 of Handshakers, we see the scientist guy doing some stuff inside his laboratory. He seems to be analysing Kyori for some reason, and it was at this point that I wondered to myself what the relationship is between Kyori and the scientist guy. Is the scientist actually Kyori's father? Anyway, it's revealed that Tazuna can let go of Kyori's hand for longer now, for around 15 minutes, which is great news for me as the main distraction for this anime has been greatly reduced. Although I guess it does still mean that they have to hold hands during their sleep time, I'm guessing, which is awkward. And also, Kyori is now allowed to eat food other than the food that she ate in the previous episode, for some reason. So Tazuna and Kyori then meet these two other people, one being Hayate, a guy that Tazuna helped in an earlier episode, and yes, I completely forgot that Hayate was that guy from episode 1, and of course Hayate is the employee of his manager, of whom I'm assuming is nameless because I certainly didn't pick up her real name in this episode. Anyway, the manager and Hayate run a cafe of which they invite Tazuna and Kyori to have a date in, and whilst the scene with Tazuna and Kyori eating together did feel like a pointless scene, it did just fly by for me. Then, and no one saw this one coming, Hayate and the manager turn out to be handshakers and they fight Tazuna and Kyori. Well, they more fight Tazuna as Kyori did nothing during the fight, and the fight was dazzling and crazy and all that, so it was the highlights of what has been quite an odd episode. I mean, this episode focused on developing the manager as someone having an inferiority complex due to her looking extremely young, thus she wants the world to become more equal, and I don't know, I probably would have been more engaged with the manager's storyline if her wanting the world to be more equal was set up first, and then we got shown why she wanted all that to happen via her forming her inferiority complex. So yeah, this episode just showed how much the producers clearly prioritized visual orgasms over decent writing. For example, for quite a lot of this episode we just get random shots of people doing stuff like walking the streets and being in a cafeteria and being in a park, even though all of those visuals were completely superfluous to the story and those shots established nothing but visuals, so the visuals had no meaning, henceforth there was no point in having them and spending time and money on them, and the writing wasn't so fantastic either, as even though the idea of an antagonist being powered by her inferiority complex was an interesting move, the move was executed in a strange way. Man, that storyline really should have started with the manager's end goal and then the development towards the end goal, but at least the visuals were awesome, right people? Anyway, let's see where this fight leads and if Tazuna and Kyori will reconcile with the manager and Hayate after the battle.